So it's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, Aston Villa fans, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. I just wanted to come with a really kind of quick-hitting preview. We didn't get to a preview yesterday, myself and Paddy, and the reason being is because we went to watch some football and to see Eamon DC's brother, who is an absolute gentleman, and hopefully we'll have more news and some things coming there soon as well. But we didn't get a chance to do a preview pod yesterday, but I just said I'd pop on today, and I'm going to take a little bit of... I suppose I'm going to do something small bit different that I haven't done in ages. You guys might remember about 3 or 4 years ago, we used to do press conference points, and we used to play the press conference and talk through it. And I think this was an interesting press conference that Unai gave in some areas. So I want to listen to the start of it, and I want to kind of talk through my thoughts on this press conference. And obviously we'll be intertwining some of the thoughts of where I think this game is going to go today as well. So bear with me there, everybody, while I just set this up. By the way, guys, a very funny story about that game last night. Paddy's team scored, and then Galway United, who they were playing, went up and scored almost straight afterwards. The ref initially ruled out the goal for offside. The linesman had his flag up, but the ref went over, spoke to the linesman, went with his decision of offside, then spoke to the Galway United captain and a couple of the players, went back to the linesman and changed his decision to not offside. So as you can imagine, Paddy was absolutely delighted with that. I'll get him to talk about that next time we have him on the podcast. But yeah, it's certainly not something I think that Paddy was. But in fairness, actually, the referee got the decision right by allowing the goal, because it should have been allowed. So it was an interesting situation, but nobody had a clue what was going on at the ground. Anyway, less of my waffling, and I'm going to play Unai Emery. He is a lot better at speaking than me, specifically about this game against Brugge. So just going to press play here, and hopefully you guys can hear this.
Could you start us off with team news if you can?
Can you guys hear?
Updates on anybody? Good evening.
Anyone want to let me know?
They are not Onana and Barkley. They are not available. They are not Andres Garcia and Donald Malin because they are not in the list. Jamal as well. He's not in the list. And another player they are in the squad. Back after injury, Pau Torres in the squad. Tyrone Mings after he wasn't on Friday. Matty Cash and Camara. Camara, he was on Friday, but he's today or for tomorrow. On Friday he was in the bench, and for tomorrow could start playing as well minutes.
Excellent. So I'm just going to stop it there, and I'm going to talk because look, I know like John Townley and all the guys do a superb job in giving us the snippets that we get from the press conferences and all that kind of jazz. But I think that's important. Look, you know, we're still getting news about Onana. I didn't expect him to be back. Barkley's not going to be back as well. I think that's like, as I say, there are a couple of room. No, I won't go into it because you know, Ross Barkley had a calf injury and then turned into a thigh injury, I think is what it was. Hopefully we'll see him back soon. But he's mentioned then obviously the players, you know, Andres Garcia, Daniel Malin, and Jamaldine Jimaloba won't be there. And I think that that's it. You know, in hindsight is 2020, you know, obviously the way Garcia has been playing now, I don't think anybody could have foreseen him taking to a duck to water to the Premier League and to the rigors of playing under Unai Emery, but he absolutely has. And look, we're in a situation now where Matty Cash is back, Pau Torres is back, Tyrone Mings is back, Boubacar Kamara is back. So we're getting our defensive players back and our more experienced defensive players back. So it'll be interesting to see what happens at right back today. Does he just throw Matty Cash straight in there after injury? Do we go back to seeing Ezri Konsa playing at right back? Be just interesting to see what happens there. I presume he's going to go with Matty Cash. But let's listen on a small bit more to Unai Emery.
And just one more from me. In terms of learning the experience of when you were here last time in November, how much of a benefit is that for you this time around?
Always we are trying to analyze and to get information about each match we are playing with the players, about the difficulties we are facing. And Brugge, they show us why they are now here. When they beat us, they perform very well, and they deserve to win us in that moment. Of course, we are progressing. We are doing very good work in Champions League. We lost here, but even losing here, we got to be in the top 8. Just we achieved it in front Atalanta, and they were out in the top 8, and they were playing together, Atalanta and Brugge played fantastic 2 matches against Atalanta. They deserved to beat them. And now, for us, it's a very important match and round against Brugge. But we know their capacity, their potential. I know how competitive they are and how the confidence they can have, how they are doing this way in Champions League. And when we are analyzing them, we can watch them playing confidence, feeling strong, and it's a really good challenge for us to try to play against one team. They beat us, and to play against one team. They have experiences in Europe. They have experienced players as well, and it's a excited moment for the season to play in Champions League this round with Brugge and try to enjoy the way like we are doing.
Again, look, Unai Emery is never going to overlook a team that he's going to play against. Sometimes, I suppose, in recent weeks, he's been criticised for maybe giving teams too much respect. I think a lot of people will think that the Crystal Palace change of formation potentially could have worked its way in there. I know I've got a differing viewpoint on that, and that's absolutely fine. I think that he played that because he was unsure of his centre half partnerships and the fact that the Konsa was coming back from injury and Disasi and Konsa hadn't played together, but we don't need to relitigate that anyway, I suppose, for sure. But he's not going to underplay a team. He's going to give them the respect they deserve, and he should, because as he rightly mentions there, Villa finish in 9th place as opposed to 8th place. They play Bruges like Atalanta did. That's where Atalanta finished. Atalanta went out against Bruges, and Bruges did a number on them twice. Absolutely did a number on them twice, so much so that you have that hilarious moment where where the Atalanta captain goes to try and throw the ball off somebody and falls flat in his face. You know, there was a head loss aspect. Gasparini as well, the manager, had a complete another head loss with Lookman. And they're fully expected to go to win that game, and probably they should, because Atalanta are a real form team. But it just goes to show that you don't go to Bruges, or you don't play against Bruges, and you don't underestimate them. And he gives them their credit for the first game that we played against them. They were very difficult to play against. Yes, we didn't play to the best of our ability, and then we have that brain fart where we pick up the ball, or where Mings picks up the ball, and they have a penalty late in the game, and they go on and win that game as well. And we were all incredulous. So there's a lot of stained memories from that last trip to Bruges as well that people are going to want to put right. And British Mick puts in there, he's saying that he looks nervous in this presser, almost annoyed. And I think I can kind of get the gritted teeth that he spoke about there about the last time that we came here, because he feels that was that wasn't reflective of what Villa should have got from that night. Because of obvious reasons, you know, because we picked the ball up and it was complacent, and maybe he feels the referee shouldn't have given it, but at the end of the day it happened, and it is a handball by the letter of the law, and we've no one to blame other than ourselves for putting ourselves in that position, because, you know, we didn't play well that day. And that could be one of the reasons that he kind of does seem a small little bit pensive about this game, I think is one way to put it. Let's play on here for another bit. I'm not going to play the whole 15 minutes, but just going to play through a couple of a couple of bits at the start, and then we'll chat more on the game ourselves then.
Unai, do you think that you can win the Champions League this season? Do you think you can win the Champions League this season?
I am not thinking in it. I am focusing each match, each moment.
I'm going to just pause this here because I think this is a rather silly question, especially a silly question to have a third question into a press conference. This is fine as he's getting up off the chair and somebody throws a question at him. Do you think you can win the Champions League? And he's an opportunity to come back with maybe a whimsical quip or something. In an instance like this, he's been asked to give proper cogent answers, and I just think, I don't know who the reporter is, and they're well within their rights to ask this question. But at the round of 16, I don't think there's any point in asking this because you don't know who you're going to play between Liverpool and PSG. And I think, it shows a lack of probably understanding Unai Emery in press conference as well. He doesn't like being asked those questions. He always downplays Aston Villa, says we're not contenders and so on. So unless you're looking for that soundbite with regards to the Champions League, which is a true soundbite within the Champions League, I think you're best off. You have that written down on your page from here until when we get knocked out of the Champions League. Cross the question out because it's pointless for us to listen to the answer to it. And it's pointless really to ask him because he gets asked this about the FA Cup, gets asked this about challenging for top four, and he consistently gives the same answer. We are not contenders, because that's his go-to, and that's fine. And some people get pissed off by it, and other fans get pissed off by it. We know what he's like at this stage. He doesn't he's not going to go out and start being Billy Big Bollocks about certain scenarios. He always likes to keep it low key and then praise in the dressing room, and that's the way it should be. I think that's the way it should be. So look, fair play to the man for standing up and asking the question. But as I say, I personally would be crossing that off my notebook between now and the only way I would start asking that is if we're in the final of a competition, because you're going to get a truthful answer then. Anyway.
And to win is the consequences. It's not the end, it's the consequences. And it's the process. And always I am building the process.
And this is a great answer as well.
And now, and I like to focus the process. If you are thinking there, you are losing the way. And maybe you are not getting there. It's better to get here and to go there.
In a way, right, I know that's very... So I watched this before or whatever, and I was chatting to somebody in DMs about this, and they said that, this was very much the seagull follows the trawler. Now, this wasn't an Aston Villa fan. And they said, oh, that was a bit of a seagull follows the trawler. Eric Cantona kind of trying to be philosophical quote. I don't think that in this instance here. This has been something that Una, and look, call me Clarent and blue glasses, I don't care. But what he said there is, it doesn't matter. Like, if we win the cup, that's fine, but we will win it by going through our process, by trusting our process, by going through our process. And I know it's an overused phrase, trust the process, and it does come from US sports, but it's a massive steadying point, an anchor point from a sports psychology point of view. Now, I don't know whether they have a sports psychologist. I presume they do within the club. If they don't, please reach out to Caroline Curd or somebody like that over here in Ireland. We've got a tranche of really good sports psychologists. But anyway, that's beside the point. It is something that's used as a leveling point, not to get too above your station, and also not to get too low in times of in times of defeat, in times of disappointment. And look, sometimes can that come across as complacent? It may do, but this answer here is quite good. He answers it very simply by saying that you guys might want us to get here really, really quickly, but we're going to get here first, and this is where we want to be. Because what I take from stuff like this is that lasting effect comes from getting here first before you get to here, because if you get up here, you're not able to deal with that situation, and you're going to fall harder than when you got to those heights. And you could arguably say that getting to fourth may be potentially a year too early or whatever, and then not being able to knit together. And I'm not going to say that we haven't knit together. Like we're doing we're doing fine in the Premier League. And what I mean by that is we're not doing as well as last year, but we're doing better than previous years in the Premier League. But to be able to knit together consistent Champions League pieces, it's okay. I think it's okay to say that Aston Villa haven't been prepared for that. We're not prepared for that for that yet, because otherwise we would have won those games that we've so often talked about, where we've conceded in the last minute or conceded late on or dropped points to Bournemouth, Ipswich twice, Nottingham Forest, Manchester United, and all those games. So what he's saying here is correct in my view. Sorry, I suppose what he's saying over and over and over again in press conferences is correct. And people may disagree with that, but it's to be honest with you, that's the way Unai Emery manages. And I'm okay with that. I think it's a grown up approach to managing expectations, both within the team and also externally as well within the media base. Here we go.
Unai, do you think with all the players coming back, and obviously Marco and Marcus and other players getting match minutes under their belts, that you're in a really good place to finish the season strongly? Do you think the best is yet to come from Aston Villa this season?
We will see. We will see it. It's a challenge. Of course, always we are trying to improve the team, the squad, add different qualities of the players. We added players with experiences in Europe and in this competition. And usually they are players, if they are playing in the highest level, they will help us a lot, but we will see it. Of course, the process they are doing, progressive adapting of us is going well. Is as well getting better how we want to try to use them in our structure, defensively, offensively, because football is collectively. And then how we can help each player to play comfortably in our structure and to help us. But we are not going to get our objective through only individual players, individual skills. We are going to get our objective collectively, building our structure as strong as possible, and then with our structure, individual players, they can use and they can exploit their skills. And this is the challenge we have. Of course, is my challenge, is the club challenge, is the players' challenge, and each one, they have their objective as well. And hopefully we can share together getting in this process and in the next 3 months our objective collectively, and then as well we can help individually the players to get their objective as well.
Just and the answer for that one, I like the question. So in a way, I like the future prediction aspect of that question, because I think all fans want to hear that. So, like, can you win the Champions League is a dud question in my view, specifically at around the 16 point of the tournament. But to ask a question like this, the players coming back, can they help you? Like he answered, he said, obviously they play at a high level. These guys play at a high level, but collectively getting a group of players back and getting them reintegrating them back into this group of players who've been playing to achieve their objectives, but individually and collectively is his next is his next challenge, and getting those players to play over a consistent period of time. Once again, I'm paraphrasing here massively, going on stuff he said previously about, he said that we've been complacent at times. He's going to want this group of players to come in and hopefully shield that complacency in future. I think, going by the fact that he said Onana and Barkley aren't going to be available, I think he really wants, and I've been saying this for a couple of weeks now, I think the centre-half position is what it is, and we all know that he needs those guys back. But I think he's equally as pissed off at the fact that we don't have rotation in that central midfield position. And that's why, and I know he started with the players that won't be there, but, he wants those two guys back fit. He needs those two guys back fit to be able to I suppose to provide a small bit of impetus, I suppose, number one in midfield. And that's not to say the other two lads, Yuri Tielemans and John McGinn, aren't doing well. They really are. But the body has limitations, specifically two lads who are, one of them who's 30 and one who's touching 30 as well. You know, it's nice to be able to bring in those bodies as well. So Kamara being back is a huge boost there. I think he'd want an Onana and Barkley back there so he can shuffle from the full deck. But as he said there, you know, he went into his stump speech there with regards to collective and individual, and that's fine. And one thing I will say about tonight's game is I do hope we see individual brilliance from the likes of Rashford and Asensio, because we've seen some individual brilliance from both of them recently, and it's ended up with goals when we've needed it most. And sometimes when we've not looked like scoring a ton, they've just they've created a bit of brilliance that's got a goal, and then all of a sudden, you know, our dander is up, and we've gone on to arguably that game against Cardiff. You know, it was that bit of trickery that worked and got into the box, and I know you know, Asensio puts the ball in the back of the net, but we're looking for that connection again today, I think, and obviously Morgan Rogers will be in there as well. So I think it's going to be formidable front four, because I'm expecting that front four to play. Now I'm going to take off Unai Emery there as well, because I'm looking at the time and I do have to go very soon again. So I suppose we will be back with a team sheet tantrum as well in 6 hours time too. So bear with us on that one as well. Maybe a small bit late. The team may be out before we can get to that, just because Paddy is not around for the team sheet tantrum as far as I'm aware, and I do have to go and collect my smallies at that stage, so I may not be back for 4:45 bang on the nose. It may be closer to 5 o'clock, but we will get a team sheet tantrum out for you later on. But before that, I just want to say, I think that, look, this team today, we're going to see some names on the bench. We're going to see, obviously, players coming back into the fold. I think that, you know, they've probably taken an aspect where they've wanted to manage these players coming back to the best of their abilities, so they don't break down and get crocked again, because they know that it's walking a tightrope. I think, specifically with defense at the moment. I personally tonight think it's going to be Mings and Konsa. I don't think Torres gets thrown in from the start. Maybe he's rested. I don't know. I could be 100% wrong on that. But once again, he's had two sessions on grass. Supposedly, I don't know how many he's had, but what some people are saying is that he's had 2 sessions on grass, and then you've got Club Brugge. Maybe we see him on the bench. Mings obviously was on the bench against Cardiff, didn't come on, and you'd imagine he's going to be fit. Boubacar Kamara the same, on the bench, didn't come on. You'd imagine he's going to be fit to start this game as well. So either way, whatever way we slice this apple, you know, we're going to have various different combinations we can pick. So I think that that's interesting. We'll have people who can come off the bench as well, should we need that to happen, specifically in defence too. But I'm expecting it to be Luca Dean. I'm expecting it to be Matty Cash at right back. I know I mentioned about Konsa going at right back. I would be surprised in this current climate if he does go at the right back, unless he really trusts Lamar Bogard, puts him in there beside Mings. Bogard right, Mings left, Konsa right back as well. That would be a discussion point, I think, in the team sheet tantrum. Not that Bogard isn't able to play in there and hasn't shown promise, but I think that would be a massive call in arguably Aston Villa's biggest game of the season so far. But that's not to say that we don't do that. If you guys listen to the podcast I did with Ivan McDowell on the 1994 League Cup final as well, you know, we spoke about no one expected Graham Fenton to play, and he was a pivotal part in us winning that game as well. So, you know, sometimes these changes that nobody expects have a massive effect. Arguably, the changes that nobody expects that Unai has made this year haven't really been effectual, and sometimes they've resulted in those players coming off at half time. So I would like us to go maybe for a more measured approach today, and that's not to say that Lamar Bogard isn't measurable. You know what I mean here. Put the square pegs in the square hole, and see what happens. And look, if Matty Cash needs to come off, well, then you do have Bogard. You do have the option of playing Bogard at right back, or moving Cons out there and bringing a Bogard on, or bringing or maybe even playing Mings and Kamara there, maybe pushing Kamara back and putting Bogard in midfield. You know, you have Mings, Kamara, and Konsa, and put Bogard in midfield. If that's what he likes, you know, you have that flexibility to be able to move players around. And while I don't believe that there's going to be any injury mishaps or any relapses or reoccurrences of injuries, you know, having that contingency is very important. I think the front four has to pick itself tonight. There's no point in having Marco Asensio, Marcus Rashford, Morgan Rogers, and Ollie Watkins in this squad if you don't play them on the big day. And this is the big day. This is the big day today. This is arguably what they were brought in for days like today, for days against, you know, upcoming matches against the likes of Newcastle, the likes of Brighton, the likes of you know, all those clubs that are around us that we need to beat. Arguably, you would say the same about Crystal Palace as well. You know, this is the time that front four has to shine, has to start, and has to be let loose. I think tonight under the Bruges lights, and see what we can do. And I know a lot of people will say we want to keep it tight at 0-0. These are the days we got these guys in for, you know. And for me, I would be very surprised if we don't see a front four of Ollie Watkins with the three amigos behind him from the start today. And have your Jacob Ramsey in reserve, have your Leon Bailey in reserve as well. That's fine. But the three amigos have to play today, I think, behind. That's what I'm just going to call them. I don't know. It's Kitch, I know, because we've got one Spanish man there, but still. And I forgot actually about Disasi in defence as well. You know, he's obviously going to be around. Maybe he comes in at right back. Who knows? But the attack for me is the more important part. You know, we have to have an ability to be able to push Club Brugge back today. We have to keep them thinking. They're a good defensive unit, but they've got a young centre-half, a young Colombian centre-half who is, albeit very, very good. They're going to be missing their first choice right back as well. And we have to exert some force on them today. We have to lean on them more than they lean on us in the early parts. Make sure that they don't get a foothold, because Atalanta didn't do that. And Club Brugge went through them like a hot knife through butter for the first 20 minutes of half an hour of that game. So I think, as I've often said at times, attack is the best form of defense, specifically when you've got juggernauts of the game like Asensio and Rashford up top there to be able to help us. So that's going to do it for me here, guys. I went way longer than I thought. This was only supposed to be like 5-10 minutes listening to the press conference, but I got into it a small bit more than I thought, so I might take the mini out of the caption at the top. But thanks a million, everybody, for your time. I know it's in the middle of the day. It's not easy for everybody to listen to, but we'll be back with a Team Sheet Tantrum tonight at 4:45 ish. Please bear with me if I'm a small bit late. As I say, I will be rushing and racing, trying to get the kids back from creche, but we'll see you for a Team Sheet Tantrum, and definitely see you for a post-match afterwards, where we hope we're talking about an Aston Villa win away from home in the Champions League to set us up for a return leg next week as well. So that's it. Thanks a million, everybody, for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.